Yeah, so let's meditate the word of God for us today. So today God is saying it. So God will change the boundaries of our life, whatever it may be. Because God has conquered the earth, God has conquered the boundaries of the grave, all the graveyards in our life. So in our life, many times we think, Lord, I'm living inside the boundaries, Lord. I'm inside the four walls. I do not have any hope out of these four walls, Lord. My life would end inside the four walls, and I see there is no way to come out of these restricted walls, out of these boundaries in my life, Lord. See, it is difficult to live inside the boundaries where we do not want to continue our life. Many times we think, Lord, what am I going to do? Why I'm going through this difficult time? Why this tough time in my life? Or why I'm not improving? I'm not able to move any direction in my life. Whichever the direction I turn, it is blocked. Whenever I look to open the doors, all the doors are closed. And what I wanted to happen in my life, it doesn't happen. And it looks like I'm living a prison life. So, is my life going to end inside these four walls? Do I have any hope outside these boundaries? So, living inside the boundaries where we do not want to live, where we do not want the certain things to happen, but it is happening. So living such a life is really difficult. At least you should have a freedom to move outside your boundaries and explore different horizons in your life. But sometimes God keeps us inside the boundaries, inside the four walls. Looks like a prison life. But Jesus Christ has conquered the heaven and earth. And he is telling us today, I will change the boundaries of your life. Whatever is the boundary, maybe it is your health issue, maybe it is your financial breakthrough, maybe it is your job promotion, or you are looking for something new in your life, or you want to explore something different in your life. So that is not happening, and you feel like you are bounded inside four walls. And Jesus Christ is saying it, I'm going to change the boundaries of your life. Because Jesus Christ also went through all those boundaries in his life when he was living as a human in this world. But he patiently endured all those struggles, and finally he overcame by his resurrection, by giving his life as a sacrifice to ends of the earth, to all the people on the earth who were living and who are going to live. They will get a freedom and they will get a new hope in Jesus Christ. So he has conquered all the struggles a human being can go through in any time in his life. So Jesus Christ, he was about to begin his ministry. He is coming to take a baptism through John the Baptist. By the time he was giving the baptism by water. But the same John the Baptist said, there is a person who is coming after me, and he is going to give a baptism not only by water, and he will give baptism by the Spirit of God. And that person is coming here to take baptism with John. And now, when he was baptizing Jesus Christ, there was a voice heard, and God is speaking, directly and saying, He is my beloved Son. I love Him. I'm very well pleased in Him. So, what we would expect, see how God is loving us. Something great is going to happen in our life because we please God's heart. And what else is needed on earth for a human to live? So, Jesus Christ would have imagined, yes, I have maintained a good life before my Lord, before my Father. And I will fulfill the purpose why I am sent to this world. But you know what happened immediately? He was taken away to the wilderness, to the four walls in his life, where he was having no food, he did not have anything to drink, he did not have any entertainment, or he did not have any luxurious things to experience in the wilderness because it's a wilderness. It looked like a forest, or it looked like mountains, or something like that. But definitely he cannot entertain in this place. God, who said, I'm very well pleased with this Son of God, now he is taking him to the closed doors of the wilderness, where Jesus Christ, he could not come out of it. And for the 40 days, he wanted to worship God, he wanted to praise God, and he wanted to receive strength from God. But it was not an easy journey. It was difficult. So what is difficult inside the closed doors, inside the boundaries which we did not like to have in our life, is the fear. What will happen if something worse happened to me? What will happen if some fearful animal attacks me while I'm praying, while I sleep in the night? Then you will lose your sleep. The fear. Sometimes the reality is different than what fear brings to our life. Let's imagine if you die tomorrow, how do you feel tonight? So that's the fear. So Satan always brings the fear and frustration in your life that you always try to run away from God, or you get confused and you yourself decide a wrong destiny for you. So that's how Satan always brings chaos or fear into our life. So Jesus was living this life and he would have feared what would have happened. Would I fulfill my Father's will as he has sent me down? Would I carry the cross and fulfill and conquer the heaven and earth if something happened to me? But Jesus Christ did not fail in this closed boundary because he was trusting the God who sent him. No matter whatever it happens in my life, he will not put me down. He did not take me into the wilderness just to kill me. He did not bring me into the wilderness in my life where I do not see any other people, where I do not get any of my basic needs, just to make me feel uncomfortable. He did not bring to make me uncomfortable. But he had a purpose. He wanted me to go through certain difficulties in my life so that he can mold me and he can strengthen me for the purpose he has sent me, and he is going to fulfill me in later part in my life. That's how Jesus Christ accepted all the suffering during 40 days. Let's imagine, even sometimes when Satan brings challenges in our life, when Satan brings fear in the form of sickness, or in the form of hopelessness, in the form of something what we wanted did not happen, with the frustration, how much we are thinking about when Satan brings such frustrations. But for Jesus Christ, 40 days he was trying to frustrate him so that he will go out of his control. He will not trust God. He will just come out of God so that he can change his mind. He can change his way than what God wanted to execute through Jesus Christ. All these 40 days he was troubling him, but Jesus held onto God's word, and he hold into God's trust. God is a trustworthy person. Even in the world, you cannot trust any human, but you can trust God. So God is a God who never changes his word. But when God takes us through closed doors and difficult moments in our life, it is not for uh, pulling ourselves down or we have made some mistake and God is punishing us. Rather, God is taking into the wilderness where we need to do something. And it doesn't mean God put us into a dark room where there is no ray of light inside it, but God is going to destroy my life. No, God has a purpose. Even when you are living inside the darkness, even when you are living inside the closed door, God is doing some work for you. And you are desperately willing to open the door and go outside, but you do not know what is waiting outside. Maybe it's a muddy road, or it's a slippery road, or it is a hill slide. When you get out, maybe you would be pulled down and then you would never get back in your life. So God put you inside the closed door until you equip yourselves to handle situations where you come out of the closed door. So that's how Jesus Christ overcome all the fears which Satan brought into his life by trusting God and worshiping God, and in everything he was thanking God. And he was eventually strengthened in a way that even he was living with the betrayer who was closer to him, and even he knew he was the betrayer, but he did not lose his temper. He did not get angry, and he was not misled by the frustrations the world gave him. And that strength he gained during these closed doors of wilderness in his life. So God prepared him to fulfill the mission that he had to accomplish later part in his time. So the same way God takes us through a closed doors many times, it looks like a wilderness, unacceptable. Uh, it is more painful. It is stressful, and sometimes we cannot even tolerate. We would become impatient. Lord, I cannot accept this at all. And if you are a good God, just take me out of this closed door. Just open any one of the door in my life so that I can run away, run outside of these circumstances which I am going through in my life. These things I am going through in my life, the difficulties, the sickness which I am going through, I cannot accept it, Lord. I cannot bear the pain what I'm going through, Lord. You don't know. I'm just looking for an open door, Lord. So the difficulties would be in any form that from our perspective, we cannot really tolerate it. We cannot really hold on to it. But we need to understand one thing. God did not put us into a closed door without a purpose. It looks like our life is going to end, our chapter is going to over due to this sickness or due to the things which we are going through in our life. I don't have any hope at all in my life. If this does not happen, my life would go into a worst path which I never wanted to take. Rather, I would die, or rather, I would quit something, I would choose something else. So let's remember, when God keeps us inside the closed doors, He has always put something inside it to equip us, to strengthen us, to mold us into a shape where He wanted to use when He takes us out of our closed doors, out of the darkness where we are living it. So all that we need to ask God, Lord, what is the thing you want me to do during this wilderness, during these closed doors? My imagination is sky is the limit, but even I cannot take the next step outside of my closed walls. What am I going to do? Just ask God. Like Jesus Christ, he held on to God, and he was getting strength each and every moment, irrespective of all these challenges, all the fear which Satan kept bringing into his life. The same way, let's ask God, God, what shall I do in my closed doors? What shall I do in my darkness? I do not see any light at all. So Jesus Christ is saying it. He is going to change your boundary. All that we need to ask, what shall I do in this boundary, Lord? So there are two things we can do. We can ignore God because God is not good. He has not seen our difficulties. He has not seen our pain. If God is a good God, then why He has not done anything in our life to make a breakthrough, to change our circumstance? Or we can reject God and choose our own path. So, what's the path you can choose inside the closed doors, inside the closed walls, or inside the darkness? Maybe you would, choose a path which will make your life more worse. Then what would have happened if you would not have done anything at all? So, what are we going to choose? Are we going to blame God in the painful moment in our life, or are we going to ask God to lead us, ask Jesus Christ to hold our hands and to show us the path? So sometimes these closed doors do not come with a cost. The price what you are going to pay is much painful than any other cost, any other price you have paid all your lifetime. So these kind of wilderness also there. There are certain wilderness you do not have any impact at all. Like so you do not see any growth, but still you did not die. You did not get any new job, but you did not lose your job. Or maybe like you lost your job, but still you are able to survive. And you are not running out of money for food. There are different kinds of things will happen in the closed door. Sometimes you lose some of your loved ones, which you cannot really accept it. Lord, you are a God, you said, you will always hold to me and you will lead me all over my life. But what happened, Lord? And you did not care about those who I love. If you are God of love, and why did not you love the one I love? But Jesus is saying it. Your life is not ending only on earth. And as long as you live on earth, I will comfort you. I will lead you. I will guide you so that you will not fall down in the temptations. You will not fall down in the fear. I will hold you. I will not leave you. But sometimes inside the closed doors, the sickness which we might experience is unacceptable. Lord, this is unacceptable pain. And if you are a God of healing God, why can't you heal me? How long I would suffer this pain? As you said, even if you have a little bit of faith, the mountain will move. But in my life, I cannot change any single circumstance in my life. So the closed doors are always difficult to go through. So I wanted to share one of the testimony where a young couple. So they were sharing the testimony about the little child they had, and this child was found impacted by cancer, and so this is the closed doors in their life. The life became dark. They could not find any way. So they tried all the medical possibilities to give chemotherapy, to give all these things available for treating cancer. But every time the child is getting chemotherapy, they could not see the agony the child is going through. No, Lord, stop it. So I cannot accept that. So see the little one, she is not able to handle this, Lord. How much suffering she is going through. At one point, they came to a point where, Lord, you don't have to heal my child. At least take the child without such severe suffering in her life. The closed doors. There is no other way. There is no medication found to cure the child disease. There are several things, but it made conditions worse and worse. God is a God who heals, but during these closed doors, God chose not to heal the child. As a parent, as a father and mother, they had no other choice other than crying, praying to God, either heal you or take her safer and quicker. Even as a parent, we cannot see the pain what my child is going through, how much worse it would be, how much painful for a little child to suffer this pain. And ultimately, the child died at one day, and all her agony ended. So the parent would have hoped, God is a God of hope, He would have given life, because we believe in true God who created the heaven and earth, and He created the same child. How much difficult for the God to give life to a little child. But many times God takes us through closed walls, closed boundaries in our life where we cannot escape. Only pain remains. So during the pain, during the suffering, what shall we do? If God is a God of heaven and earth, and He holds the universe in His hands, why all these things in my life is happening? Why am I under the closed door? So this question remains to everyone who goes through the boundaries which we do not want to happen. The boundaries where we do not to reside inside. So there are two things we can take out of it. Either I would run out of God because there is no use in calling God. If God is there, then He should change anything in my life, but nothing is changing. Whatever I am trying on my own also, getting worse and worse. There is no hope for me to come out of these boundaries. The suffering I am going through, the pain I am going through, the fear which makes me more stressful, and sometimes it even kills me. So what shall I do? Shall I run out of this God, because there is no point in seeking any God in life? And even I know this God is a true God, and many times He has done greater things in my life, but not now. During my closed boundaries, during my closed walls, where I do not see a light come inside. I do not see anyone to open the door for me. The same God who has done mighty things in my life is not responding. He has kept me inside the closed boundaries. Shall I reject this God and find my life on my own way? Whatever can happen, let it happen. Or still I would go back to God and ask, Lord, without a purpose, you did not allow me to put inside these closed boundaries. How shall I survive in this closed boundary, Lord? How shall I overcome these challenges? How can I forget? How can I go through all such pain in my life, Lord? Shall we ask God to lead us, comfort us when we are going through the pain which we cannot accept it? Even as a human, it is not acceptable. How can God allow us to go through such difficulty in our life? So we'll take two instances from Bible where they were going through the closed doors, their boundaries in life. So one is from Joseph, and Joseph also went through a lot of boundaries in his life, but he never decided to ignore God. He never decided to reject God because his boundaries were unacceptable, and the agony he was going through was unacceptable. But still, he chose to seek God to guide him. Wherever he went, he was doing a loyal work, he was doing a perfect work, but still he ended up in prison. So his boundaries became narrow and narrow. Ultimately, he came to a point he could not come out of his boundary. But still, he did not complain God. He did not blame God for putting him inside these boundaries instead of giving him hope. He did not hope for being a king or somebody. He wanted a hope to go out of a prison life. At least if I go out and live as a slave, my life would be much happier than how I live inside a prison. He did not complain to God. He was always seeking God, and he was always doing what God was asking him to do. He was doing all the administrative work inside the jail. Even he was a slave and he was a criminal. He was justified as a criminal and he was punished. And that's why he was in prison and he had to spend all his life behind the bars. But he was seeking God. What shall I do, Lord? God was doing it. Take care of the jail. Take care of things what you have before you and arrange all these things. He did not worry about his boundaries and he was doing whatever God showed before him, whatever God put before him with full of his heart, without complaining. He was doing everything perfect. So these boundaries shaped his career later point in time when he became a great person next to the Pharaoh. There was no such administrative knowledge or wisdom found in the entire Egypt. So that's how when God took us inside the closed boundaries, he did not want to kill us. He did not want to dump us into the darkness. Rather, he wanted us to strengthen. He wanted us to mold into a manner where we can handle things when God takes us out of our boundaries. So that's how Joseph he overcame all his boundaries by always seeking God, always seeking God's wisdom. In his pain, he called into God to comfort him. God of my father will never put me down. I always keep him before my face. I will not do any sin in my life, but I would do what he wants me to do in my closed doors, in my darkness. So later God picked him out of his closed door, out of his boundaries to rule the entire nation where no one was equipped with such knowledge. And all that wisdom and administration he learned inside his closed boundaries, closed walls. We look at another instance where Job was a very good person on his time. And he was a loyal person, he was a kind of righteous person. He was called as a righteous person because of his obedience to God, because of his faithfulness to God. And all that he was doing it, not even he did any small mistake because he was afraid. He was fearful to the God who has kept him so wealthy and so rich. He gave more than what he wanted. He was very loyal to God. This God has given me everything. I will not do any small wrong against this God. Instead, I would choose to end my life instead of doing something which my Lord did not like in my life. I wanted to live a righteous life. But when Satan brought a disaster in his life, he started losing one by one. First, he started losing his animals, and still he did not lose faith in God. He was kept praising God. My God has given, he has taken it back. Still, I would praise him. I would worship him. And again, his wealth was gone. Still, he did not lose hope. And later his own children were gone. Still, he held into God and he kept saying, my God has given. It is my closed door. The closed door is started giving more pressure to Job from this point onwards when he started losing all his own possession. Until the point all the external things, when he lost, he did not lose hope. But when he started losing his own possession, his own children, his own family, his own blood relations are dying before him. He had no inheritance. He had no genealogy after him because all of them were dead. And the closed door started showing its face to Job. And he started questioning God, Lord, why are you allowing all these things in my life? Did I do any mistake? If I would have done a small mistake, you can kill me, you can end my life, I would happily accept it. Did I do something? You have taken all my children. And the closed door started making more pressure by affecting him. And his life getting into a danger. And he is getting into chronic diseases that nobody can heal. And at the end, he was only, his soul was left, and all his body and all his muscles were lost. And even people who looked at him and they said, just, curse God and live your life. But in this wilderness, he started questioning God, cursing God, why God did such injustice in my life. Am I a person who did any wrong before God, where he is allowing this wilderness into my life? So when God allows wilderness, when God takes us through closed doors, doesn't mean he wants to punish us. Maybe he wants to mold us to a different way, what he wanted us to live, where he wanted us to take. It's not always the closed doors mean we have made mistakes. The God is a God of forgiveness. He always forgives us. When we go back and repent before him, he always forgives us. But then why he allowed such wilderness? This was the question for Job. He started questioning God instead of seeking God to understand why God allowed such wilderness, why God brought him into these closed doors, inside these closed boundaries where he could not escape. There was no way to escape at all. He started questioning instead of seeking God. He wanted to see God face to face. And then I would ask him, if you find any small mistake, then tell me, and why have you allowed all such difficulties in my life? He was always questioning God, grumbling to God, why this has happened. But still, he did not reject God, but he started spending all his time in questioning God and making himself as a righteous person and trying to prove himself before God. So are we choosing which direction? Which direction we choose in our life? We want to choose how Joseph overcame his boundaries, or we want to follow like a Job by saying, Lord, I have lived a good life. I have done all my best before you, Lord, that you know. And you have shown your mercy many times in my life, Lord, because I have been so faithful before you. But you have kept me inside the closed doors. Instead of seeking God for leading us to overcome the boundaries, are we just questioning God or complaining God or grumbling before God, so that we feel we are getting comfort. We are feeling something that we have questioned God and our life is going to change. So let's pray which direction we want to choose inside our closed boundaries. Jesus Christ is saying today to you, I'm going to change your boundaries in your life. The boundaries are difficult to accept. Many times it brings painful moments in your life that nobody can understand and accept it. But Jesus has conquered all these boundaries for you and me. He has overcome all the challenges of this world, and He is telling us today that I'm going to change your boundary. I'm going to change your closed door. I'm going to change your closed walls where you are living until this time. Would you come back to me and ask me, what shall I do, Lord? How shall I go through this difficult boundaries in my life? How shall I forget about all the pain, the agony which I have experienced during my closed doors? Shall we ask God